Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Juan, I am just one reader, and you are watching the Freudian book tag. This video is being done in collaboration with Tiffany from the channel Hierarchy of Reads. So Tiffany is actually a student of psychology, and so she thought it would be really interesting and hopefully useful to incorporate some theories of the mind, in this particular case psychoanalysis, into the booktube community. There are millions upon millions of book tags out there, but there doesn't seem to be any book tag that specializes in or that uses psychoanalysis or any other theories of the mind. So she thought it would be really interesting if we combined our areas of expertise and created this kind of book tag. Tiffany contacted me to do this collaboration because I am a training psychoanalyst and I specialize in Freud quite a bit. So together we have created the Freudian book tag, which consists of 10 questions. These are questions that everybody can answer. You don't need to know or like Freud or psychoanalysis or anything at all. These are just 10 questions that everybody can read and answer and interpret in whatever way they want to interpret them. So these are 10 questions that are influenced by Freud and by psychoanalysis, particularly the classic psychoanalytical theory, which is the theory that Freud himself discovered and put into practice. So the objective of this book tag really is to give psychoanalysis and all these theories of the mind a kind of spotlight, to give the spotlight back to them and bring them back to our community, and also I think to raise awareness about Freud and the kind of man that he was and the amazing theory that he created and why it is very relevant still today and is actually becoming stronger and stronger thanks to some neuroscientific discoveries and findings, which I think is really interesting. So like I said, this is a collaboration video, so Tiffany is going to be posting her own Freudian book tag in her channel today. So make sure that once you are finished watching this video, go to her channel and check her version of the tag as well. Without any further ado, we present the Freudian book tag. I hope you enjoy. Question number 1. Freud's theories are commonly mischaracterized and underappreciated. Name a character in a book that you feel is misunderstood and tell us in what ways. So I have chosen the wonderful Holden Caulfield from The Catcher in the Rye. It's a book that many people dislike or just don't really get, and Holden himself is a character that is really misunderstood and disliked by a lot of people. But me, oh man, I loved him. Maybe it's because I work a lot with teenagers and with the adolescent conflicts, but I just loved him. I felt really close to him, and it's a book that I am recommending to everybody. Question number 2. When Freud first debuted his psychoanalytical theory, it was not well received. Many were scandalized by his discovery of children's sexuality. It was only later that his work was recognized and applauded. What is a book whose debut was not well received, or a book whose release was considered by some to be scandalous, and what were your thoughts about it? So I have chosen the one and only Historic Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman. You know that this is my favorite trilogy ever, and I remember reading this for the first time when I was in school. I was 11 or 12 years old and I was attending a very religious school, and this book is banned from those kinds of schools for all the best reasons. This book is about children's sexuality and how in order to grow up and develop a stronger, more mature adult sexuality, they have to defeat and actually kill God. So of course this book was banned in my school, and that just made it more interesting, more entertaining, and fascinating. Question number 3. Freud is said to have been very self-analyzing and self-aware even in childhood. What is a book that seems to have been quite aware of itself, and what kind of reading experience did this make for you? I have chosen The Wonderful Fortune Smiles. This is a collection of short stories written by Adam Johnson. The stories are amazing and wonderfully written, but I think Adam Johnson really has a great sensitivity and a very special self-awareness about the characters that he's writing, the subject matter that he chooses to address, and the way that he does it. He doesn't shy away from showing characters that are even despicable or at least repulsive, but he somehow manages to humanize them and make the reader really not like them necessarily, but really empathize with them, which is more difficult and more important. The best story in this collection is a great example of this. It's the story about a pedophile. He's a sexual pervert, and he is fantasizing about children and thinking about how he has to repress those urges. And it's a story that might sound awful on the surface, but the way that he writes it is beautiful. Question 4. While many aspects of Freud's theories are still used today, he was very much a product of his time. For instance, in his early career, he was influenced by Darwinism, and in later years by the discoveries made by physicists. Being a neurologist, most of his early discoveries were influenced by medicine and biology. Name a book that was strongly influenced by prominent ideas of the time, but that has remained relevant over time. Why do you think it has maintained its relevance? So for this question, I am choosing American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, one of my favorite novels. This book was trying to give social commentary about the people who worked at Wall Street in New York back in the 70s, I think it was. These were people that were incredibly self-centered and narcissistic and egotistical, and they had a very particular lifestyle and way of looking to the world. And I think it's incredibly terrifying and shocking that in 2018 we can still relate to the values, or rather anti-values, that are portrayed and depicted in this book. I think it's because this book really addressed and touched some of the more primal forces of humanity, some of the issues that make us human in the first place. And this book really is a metaphor for narcissism and how evil and malign narcissism can be. And narcissism is something that is becoming more prominent and more present in our modern society and culture. We are using narcissism as a refuge, as a way of coping with life and coping with feeling and coping with negativity, and we are just trying to avoid feeling a lot of things, and we are using narcissistic defenses in order to achieve those things. Question 5. The unconscious. Freud was the first to suggest that all behavior is the result of hidden mental states, or, as he called it, the unconscious. Name a book that, in your opinion, shows the real side of humanity or of a character. I have chosen the perfect answer for this question, George Saunders. George Saunders is one of my favorite authors. These are the 3 short story collections by him that I have read. And something that I really love about him, among many other wonderful things that he has to offer, is that he portrays characters and humanity like no one else does. He does not shy away from showing people, his characters, in the shittiest ways possible. He doesn't shy away from showing the shittiest, dirtiest, most perverse, most neurotic and conflicted parts. And he manages to make these characters so lifelike and realistic and, most importantly, human and humane. I could make an entire video talking about how great George Saunders is, but this is just one thing that I really appreciate about his writing. He is not afraid of showing a human being with the good and the bad, the neurotic, the ambivalent, the conflicted. I love him. Question 6. The instincts. One of the basic premises of psychoanalysis is that human mind and behavior are influenced by unconscious drives, libido, and aggression, that is, sex or love versus destruction or death. What is a book that deals with these primal forces? I am choosing It by Stephen King because it really deals mainly with those two forces, love, sex, and on the other side, destruction, aggression, sadism, masochism. Also, It by Stephen King is a very psychoanalytical novel. It is actually a metaphor or analogy for childhood fantasies and childhood traumas, which are the core of psychoanalysis. Question 7. Hysteria and repression. At the turn of the century, Freud found out that people were so sexually repressed that they started to develop physiological symptoms such as blindness, numbness, hysterical attacks, when, in fact, nothing was physically wrong with them. Name a book that features repressed sexuality. I have chosen The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters, which I recently read and can't stop thinking about. I won't say why I thought of this book for this question because it could be a spoiler, but it is a great book. It is creepy and chilling, and the atmosphere is just deliciously dark, and you could interpret all the shit that goes down in this book. You could interpret that as something that has to do with repressed sexuality. Question 8. Dreams. In his groundbreaking The Interpretation of Dreams, Freud discovered that dream analysis is one of the best ways to understand the unconscious. This practice, dream analysis, is still one of the key skills that modern psychoanalysts today have to learn how to master. Name a book where dreams are heavily important or prominent. I have chosen Harry Potter because there are a lot of dreams in Harry Potter, but I chose in particular Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire and Harry Potter, and the Order of the Phoenix. These are books that whenever I reread them, I love reading the dream sequences. Question 9. The couch. Of course, how could we forget the couch? Lying down to talk about anything at all while a complete stranger sits behind you is a weird dynamic, however fascinating and effective. There is something really unique and special to the analyst-patient relationship, something you can really only know if you have experienced it. Name a book that has an interesting, weird, or unique relationship. I have chosen The Rabbitback Literature Society by Pasi Ilmari Jääskeläinen. This book is whimsical as hell. It is lovely, and I really loved it back when I read it 2 or 3 years ago. In this book, the characters get together and they practice this thing that they call the game, which is a really weird combination of psychoanalysis and something along the lines of Scientology. It's a weird dynamic. It's a dark book. I love it. More people need to read this book. And finally, question 10. Freud has been seriously misunderstood by many since his day. Be that as it may, modern research has actually supported many of his findings. Today, psychoanalysis is a strong field, with more and more people training to become analysts. Name a book or an author that makes you hopeful about the future. And I am choosing Donna Tartt for this question. Donna Tartt is the author of The Secret History, The Little Stranger, and The Goldfinch, 3 of my favorite novels for very different reasons, but I adore every single one of these novels. They are very special and dear to me. And, Donna Tartt is a very kind of mystical, enigmatic, weird auteur kind of figure, and she's just exciting. It's exciting to think of all the ideas that she must have, and probably she's developing some of those ideas and writing something new, and she's probably gonna write another novel in, I don't know, 10 years or something, but it just makes it all the more interesting. And I find myself constantly wondering, what is her next book going to be about, and what's it going to be like? She is a very exciting author, and I have no idea what's in store for us as her readers, but I know it's going to be wonderful. That's it. Those are all the questions and my answers to the Freudian book tag. I am going to tag the following people: Steve Donahue, Chris from Chris Bookish Cauldron, Sean the Book Maniac, Wilson from Wilson Sugared, Olive from A Book Olive, and Adam from Memento Mori. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, I think psychoanalysis is really important still today, even though many people don't really know what it is or what it's really about. Some people have a very negative view of psychoanalysis because it's a very incomplete view. I think in order to really appreciate the psychoanalytical theories, you have to really get into them, and that is quite a big endeavor. Now, if you would like to see me doing more videos talking about psychoanalysis, let me know in the comments down below so I can know if you guys would be interested in something like that. I was also thinking that it might be cool to post a video showing you guys what it's like to be a psychoanalyst today in 2018. Maybe something like a day in the life of a modern psychoanalyst, so that you could really see what it is that we do and how we do it and what we do it for, and all that sort of backstage business to the psychoanalytical practice. So I would like to once again thank Tiffany from the channel Hierarchy of Reads. Again, thank you for your support, your originality, your creativity, and for your initiative for putting this together in the first place. And to all of you watching, please go ahead and do this tag if you were not tagged and you would like to do it. Thanks for watching. I am Just One Reader, and I will see you on the next video.